My name is Dr. Ismail Mehr. I'm a board-certified anesthesiologist in upstate New York, and I have the privilege of being the chairman of IMANA Medical Relief. Volunteerism, it's the lifeblood of any community. We have the prime examples of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his companions of the volunteerism that they've done as examples throughout their lives. What does modern dictionary define volunteerism as? It's a policy or practice of volunteering one's time or talents for charitable, educational, or other worthwhile activities. So, that's what the definition is if you open up a dictionary. But what does volunteerism mean in Islam? It's basically you're investing in your akhirah by volunteering. Now, quite often we as Muslims think, we focus on the charitable part, that I'll just simply write a check, or I'll send in, a donation, and I've done my part. And of course you have, but there's so much more to volunteerism or charity or sadaqah, as we know. And I guess I'm trying to focus on the word sadaqah because we all think sadaqah just means, send a check in. Sadaqah, a smile to each other is sadaqah. Helping one get a glass of water is sadaqah. There's so many forms of it, and I'm trying to take it to the level of volunteerism. Is a sadaqah that, for those of you who have done volunteer work, can attest to the fact that it changes your life forever. So Islam and volunteerism. This is from Surah Baqarah, ayah 262. Those who spend their substance in the way of Allah and do not follow up what they have spent with reminders or injury will have their reward with the Lord, and there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. So substance doesn't mean necessarily money. It could be your time. It could be teaching a child something. It could be helping someone. It could be volunteering in the mosque. There's so much that you can take into this in terms of substance. Likeness of those who spend their substance seeking to please Allah and to strengthen their souls is a garden high and fertile. Heavy rain falls on it, but makes it yield a double increase to harvest. And it receives not heavy rain. Light moisture suffice it. Allah sees whatever you do. Surah Baqarah, ayah 265. And I can relate to this ayat because, and I'm sure Labib can, these guys are very modest and didn't discuss how much they volunteer their time. Labib went to Libya, Nadeem Bhai has gone to Haiti twice, he's gone to Pakistan twice for relief efforts. I've done a few myself, and those of you who've done a lot of volunteer work or who open your checkbooks and give so much sadaqah and zakat, when you write a check and you give a big donation, I know I'm guilty, but I always think how am I going to do this? How am I going to take care of this? And a month later, you go to balance your checkbook, and it's happened to me before, and all of a sudden there's money comes in from somewhere, or something happens, and I'm like, you weren't expecting it. This is what this ayah is saying, is don't fear when you go and give in the way of Allah, and the same is with your time. We take time off from work without salaries and pay our own way, but alhamdulillah, Allah always provides for us. And this is what Surah Baqarah, ayah 265 is basically attesting to. So, volunteerism, it's a basic fundamental of Islam. It's not a Western or a Western world thinking. But unfortunately, in our culture, volunteerism is not emphasized. Volunteering at the masjid, helping clean up the garbage, is the extent of the volunteerism that takes place in our mosques or in our communities. Or to volunteer and watch the children, during a khutbah. That's volunteerism. And I'm not saying it's not. But it goes to a much, much greater level. First of all, it's for the sake of Allah. Closest to Allah are those who benefit humanity. And that can be in many ways. It doesn't have to be in a medical healthcare profession. By translating our love for Allah into good actions, we strengthen our iman. And I think all of us who have volunteered before can attest to that. Serving humanity falls under, you have huququllah, which are the rights or the rights of what Allah has from us as His creations. There's the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. But then you have huququl ibad. And this is what distinguishes, I think, Islam from all other religions. Because your fellow man in Islam, the Quran and Sunnah have adapted and have put forth the rights of everyone in this room has a right from me, as I have a right from you, the huquq al-ibad. And serving humanity falls underneath those huquq al-ibad. The perceptions, like I was saying, of volunteering amongst Muslims, it's often really not appreciated by the community. It goes unnoticed. Sometimes some people, and I've heard it, whispers, oh, have them do it, it's free labor, get those college kids to do it. Only for those who have free time. I'm too busy in my life. I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a a corporate CFO. I don't have the time for this. You know, it's for those who have time. Or, you know, the big one is the community will always rely on one family to volunteer and at the community level. Or a family will always rely on one family member who may go out and volunteer, go on disasters, or go out to, you know, go to the villages in India and teach children in their summer vacation time. Or, you know, goes to Haiti and helps build houses. Oh, so-and-so's doing it, so I don't need to do it. Alhamdulillah. Or it's the reverse. You know, let someone else do it. I don't have anything, I wish I did, and I would try to help. So those are what the Muslim community looks at volunteerism as being. And again, it is our deen that has structured, has set forth the protocols of Hukuk al-Ibad about how we should be examples of volunteerism. But unfortunately, I see in our communities, in our mosques, that, you know, this is how we perceive it. It's easier to simply give money, and I'm not putting that down. But that is the first reaction most people. If someone, right now I asked in this room, I want 10 volunteers for Haiti next week, I'm not sure if I'll get 10 volunteers to go. But I'm sure I'll get a few people say, I'll write a check. I can't be of any help. We should only help Muslims. I think that's a huge misperception. Huge misperception. Because the Hukuk al-Ibad doesn't say it's Hukuk al-Ibad of just a Muslim or one who says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. It is of all mankind. You know, your neighbor who may be an atheist, he has rights upon you. Or, you know, and I put this at the bottom, but I've heard this, and I'm sure Labib has and Lim has, we've gone away, and you know, I've been at the mosque, and an auntie has asked me, oh, so this must have helped you like get a promotion in your job. Or, you know, you went to Beta, you went to Haiti, you came back, oh, this, you know, oh, your job probably paid for it, then, you know, will this help you get a better job next time? I mean, these are things that I've heard about, you know, so it's that mentality of, how can I benefit, so therefore I'll volunteer. The biggest benefit is, as Imam Majid was saying today during the lunch, for those who went to the luncheon, it's the BOA, it's the Bank of Allah. That's where you benefit, not in this world. And of course you do in this world eventually when you give sadaqah. So, you know, I can only relate to the organization that I volunteered with, which is obviously the Islamic Medical Association of North America. You know, this lecture, this talk isn't, you know, here to say just only volunteer with IMANA. I think there's numerous organizations out there for every type of profession or every type of person that they can volunteer. But what I am trying to say is, if you're not a physician, you can still volunteer with us. You know, we take 2 to 3 non-medical professionals with us on each mission. We've taken bankers, lawyers, politicians, you name it, type of people with us, medical students, residents with us. So if you feel after this talk that you want to volunteer, come, you know, touch base with us and we'll tell you how. But a little bit about IMANA. You know, it was founded in 1967. It's the largest body organization for Muslim healthcare providers. And when I say Muslim healthcare providers, it's not just physicians. Everyone just assumes it's only for doctors. It's for nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, podiatrists, you name it. If you're in healthcare, we have room for you. And if you're not, we have room on our volunteer list for you. It's an advocate for healthcare policies, for the healthcare, you know, discussion that was taking place last year in the Capitol here in Washington. There was IMANA representatives there working on policy and reform. Big thing, it promotes medical ethics and values. Dr. Nadimullah, he's the vice chair of our medical ethics committee. He's actually putting together a hotline. Our goal is to have a 1-800 number, hopefully by the end of the year, for end-of-life situations. We're all going to face it. We face it all the time, but of course we have our religious beliefs and a religious aspect that comes into it. So wouldn't it be great that you can just pick up a number, Muslim or non-Muslim, dial 1-800 and you'll get tied into a Muslim physician who's with Islamic ethics, can help guide you. Should we stop treatment? Should we pull the tube or not? So that's one of our goals. And then of course the relief efforts is a huge part of what we do. So alhamdulillah, IMANA Medical Reliefs from 2003 to 2012, as you can see that list, how it's just growing and growing and growing. I've been on 9 missions. I think Labib has been on 3 or 4. Nadeem Bhai's been on 4. There's people in this room who volunteered. Hopefully there's people in this room who will decide to come forth and volunteer going forward. So what I'm just trying to say to you is that alhamdulillah, over the years we have progressed as a relief agency and have been recognized by the United Nations, by the World Health Organization, you name it. We have more than 25 current projects going on around the globe. If you're a teacher and you want to try to go teach in the school or help school children, we can do that for you. If you're an engineer and want to help with clean water drinking projects and think your expertise can help with that, we can make that happen. We can use your expertise. If you are in the biomedical engineering profession, transfer of medical technology is a huge thing that we do around the world with countries. Obviously medical education, mobile clinics, and then we have medical and surgical missions. We have over 28 medical centers worldwide, alhamdulillah. And we have 6 fully functional hospitals. Actually, just before this presentation, one of our brothers from Bangladesh, Brother Ghulam Malik, presented the newest hospital that we've just helped fund and build in Noakhali, Bangladesh. That opened up, I believe, on June 28th. So, here's some just pictures of volunteerism. This is my first mission when I went to Indonesia in 2004, 2005 after the tsunami. Quick little question or story. Usually the question that I've had before in the past is, how did you get into volunteerism? Or Ismail, what made you do it? And I think many of you in this room, how many of you watched the tsunami, and regardless of what your background is, from high school student at the time to full-fledged engineer or practicing physician or lawyer, how many of you in this room said you wish you could do something? Show of hands. I think everyone felt if there was something I could do to be of help. So I was the same, and right around that time, my first child, my son Ibrahim, was born actually on the 21st, and I think the tsunami came through on the 25th. So it was maybe being more emotion at the time, being a new father, that it kept hitting me and daunting me that I've said it before when I've seen disasters on TV that I want to help, I want to volunteer, and as Nadeem I was alluding to, because he's probably heard this story many times, but nonetheless I think it hits home with everyone because everyone's been in this position before. I've said I want to help, and I might write a check. A lot of times I wouldn't write a check and just say I wish I could help, and wake up the next morning, get in my car, turn on the air conditioner, and go to work, and that's it. Maybe just a thought. Would hope that all would maybe bless me for my intention, which I would never follow through. So here now the dilemma was, 2-3 months after the tsunami, I got an email from IMANA saying we're looking for volunteers. And now the opportunity actually came to me. I never went and sought the opportunity to volunteer before. I just said I wish I could help. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a way that it actually came to me in the form of an email. So now I had this moral dilemma. Do I just hit delete and walk away from this? But I kept on telling myself for the last 2 months that I want to help these people somehow. So alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the courage to be able to stand up and say no. I got this email from IMANA, and at that time I just had become a member of IMANA. I didn't know much about it. I said, you know what? It was about lying to myself. And I said, I can't do that. So alhamdulillah, I accepted. And from there, it's been 9 missions later. And now, alhamdulillah, been asked to be the chairman of the relief committee. So that's how I got into volunteering. So the moral of the story is, when you say you want to help, go find a way to help. Don't just say it. Because if you're saying it, you're just cheating yourself and you're lying to yourself. If you really want to help, there's ways for you to help. Doesn't matter what field, what profession, what you're in. So this is one of my friends, Dr. Ahmed. This is in Bande Aceh. This is in Pakistan earthquakes. This is part of our team at the October 2005 earthquake. Alhamdulillah, IMANA spent 4 months there. I think we had well over 200 physicians go through there. We've built hospitals in Pakistan. We have 2 or 3 villages that we've adopted. We have schools there that we're funding. We continue to support the work in the northern areas that were affected from the earthquake. That's Dr. Mukhtar Anis. He's a gastroenterologist in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And alhamdulillah, it was Ramadan at the time. We'd get up in the morning, we'd do our sahur, and he would see 600 to 700 patients with the local doctors a day until iftar time. I had the opportunity to fly off. So there's also adventure in volunteerism. Some people like that thrill and get to do so many different things. So I rode on the Pakistan military choppers and went to the line of control. For those of you who are from Pakistan, literally those mountains in the back are India. I'm right at Chakoti, right at the line of control. We landed there, and then we went up in another helicopter, 8,000 feet, and there was snow up there, and established a free clinic in this area where no one could come down the mountains and get to Muzaffarabad for treatment. I think this is the most, this is one mission that always hits home, is we went to Gaza during the war. I don't think many people realize or know that no one from America, first of all, wanted to help, and anyone who wanted to was in the minority, could not get in. But alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, we were the only Americans to enter Gaza during the war. The ceasefire occurred while we were there. We spent a week there, and this, you know, it's a whole other discussion, a whole other presentation that I have on Philistine and my experience in Gaza. And if any of you ever want one of us to come out to your masjid, your community, and talk about that experience, we'd be more than happy to do that. This is one of my best friends, Imran, and myself. This was a 7-year-old child who had a rare liver cancer. So your question is, will come forth, well, I thought you went during the war to help. And we had the same question. We were amazed ourselves that, you know, we saw the blood, the guts, the gory, tragic stuff that takes place in war. But what we didn't imagine was, you know, we all know there's an embargo, but you don't understand what an embargo is until you go to a place that's a living jail, that is the world's largest open-air prison. This child could not go anywhere to get treatment. There's no chemotherapy in Gaza. There's no lidocaine, for those of you physicians, which is Novocaine, the medicine that numbs up things. There's no antibiotics. All these things are on the no-entry list as courtesy of the policies of the country next door and policies that we also enforce. So this child was dying. He was going to die in the next 2-3 weeks. We were able to do a diverting shunt for his liver to try to make his last few days comfortable for him. But, you know, I think the embargo is what really, really changed our minds and affected us the most when we were there. This is a team in Haiti. I don't know which team this was, probably team 4, team 3, 4. I think Labib was on this team. And for those of you who don't know this, we were there 4 days after the earthquake. IMANA Medical Relief was there the 4th day. We were the first group of doctors there. We established a field hospital. I think Aisha is here in the crowd. She was one of the first volunteers to go, and I want to point that out. You know, a lot of times people or parents will think, you know, oh, how can a girl go, or my daughter, I wouldn't send her. Well, talk to Aisha, talk to some, you know, you talk to the girls who've gone. I mean, the experience that they've had, it's completely safe. We do our first due diligence in making sure that the security and logistics for our team members is provided for. And so they established a field hospital in an amusement park. There's a picture of Aisha right there. And we treated over 10,000 patients in 3 months. Sean Penn, the movie actor from Hollywood fame, his organization JPHR actually requested our physician to start coming there the last month. And you know, I say you don't have to be a physician. One of my good friends is in the audience, Mansour Khader. He's not a doctor. Has nothing to do with it. He actually works on political campaigns, and he called me up and said, you know, I want to volunteer. And he went down, and then he went back and spent a month down there. So, you know, the experience and what you can do, you know, for those of you who are not physicians, you know, I'll point out Mansour to you. Talk to him about his experience of going down with a health organization, but not being a physician, and how much of help and difference that he made. This is one of my friends from LA. He's a lawyer who went down. It was a form of dawah as well in Haiti. I mean, 30% of our volunteers are also non-Muslims. And for Haiti, a lot of typical redneck Americans went with us because no organization most organizations will not take you unless you have done some sort of service. Expect healthcare organizations, they won't take non-physicians. And we were open to it. And you know what? Many of the non-Muslims, we didn't do any dawah, we didn't force Quran or any stories, nothing down the throat. We simply did what we do, did the work, the self-passion. And there were so many of them who asked for Qurans after we left. They actually emailed and said, can I have a copy of the Quran? I've never met a Muslim before, and this totally changed my perception of Muslims. That's Imam Majid in the background there. He's the current president of Islam. This was in 2009. The first time 4 of us went to Sudan. You saw in the video the cleft lip, cleft palate surgeries. So we went and we did 40 cases. Last year was our 3rd mission, last March of 2012. We had 20 volunteers, and we did 158 surgeries in 4 days. So this is what a cleft lip, for those of you who don't know what it looks like. Imagine this being your daughter, your niece, grandchild, completely normal, healthy child. It's not like Abdullah, who's a 7-year-old in Gaza who had a terminal illness that we couldn't do anything for him. We just tried to make his last few days easier for him. This child is not mentally retarded, has no issues, but she can't eat. She won't be able to breastfeed. She's going to end up malnourished. She won't be able to talk, etc., etc. And what happens in our cultures, in third world cultures, then the kids won't play with this child. When they go to school, if they go to school, the teacher's not going to give this child any time. Now when she grows up, who's going to marry this child? Just giving you all these examples. 20 to 30 minutes, like Dr. Pervez Malik said, of our time changes the life forever of this child. And it's by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave us the skill sets and the education and knowledge to be able to do this. So that's afterwards is quite swollen, but it's completely normal afterwards. This is Pakistan floods. Probably the tragedy that you can't even quantify. Everyone, Haiti, Pakistan earthquake, and the tsunami. If you put all that together, it still doesn't compare to the amount of destruction that took place in the floods in Pakistan. I think we've established over 5 camps and we provided for close to 30,000 people. Here's a child that Dr. Khan was taking care of. We thought this child was dead actually, but alhamdulillah she wasn't. We started IV-ing her and we were able to save her life. This is Dr. Labib. When the Libyan crisis happened, we try to go wherever we can. He went by himself and went there for an assessment, crossed over the border during the Libyan war from Tunisia and made an assessment of what was going on to see how IMANA could help. So that's another thing is we go first, we look at what's happening, we don't just work blindly on the ground and try to determine if the money that people have donated to us, if we can put it to use. This is me in Somalia last year. I was in Somalia. So how can you make a difference? Getting back to what I was saying in the middle section was join a local organization, volunteer in your community. You work in a soup kitchen. Youth organizations, social service organizations. Or what? I would love it if many of you would stand up. Or fill out the cards that are on your chairs and become a volunteer with IMANA. With that, I'll hand it back over to Labib for the question and answer session.
For your speech. Now I'll open the floor to questions, either or both. Any questions? Yes, sister.
There's a lot of medical students, a lot of
Correct.
residents, and I don't know how you could approach them at the local level so that they can grow up with you, because I could see this is really very helpful on the long term.
I'll let Dr. Mehr tackle this, but there are actually programs that you mentioned in place here right now.
So I never saw anything in my community for this. All these students come during vacation, and if they could be approached when they come to visit their family, then they can be reached at a personal level, then hopefully they can turn into...
Inshallah, absolutely. I think, first of all, the community, if there aren't active members of IMANA, it's hard to get the word out. So now you know about IMANA, so you have the burden of being responsible to getting that out to your community. Give them to our website, the students give them the ideas, and they can register online. But it doesn't have to be the students only. It's the adults, young and old, that can volunteer as well. And we desperately need volunteers. But it starts with programs like this and other programs that we do online. Alhamdulillah, over the years, the visibility of IMANA has definitely increased. Inshallah will continue to increase, and it won't be any problem in getting volunteers. We have Faraz here who volunteered with us for Haiti as well. And I'm not even sure, Faraz, how did you find out about IMANA? Just by Google search, or did someone tell you about it?
I think it was by word of mouth.
By word of mouth. And he went with us to Haiti, and he actually went a week and was crazy enough to stay another week after that and spend 2 weeks right back to back there. So, Jazakallah. 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 Thank you for your time.